Hello, excuse me. Hello, guys. I don't know if you can see. Yes, you can see me. Cool, awesome. I just wanted to just send a little message out. It's a little live stream right now, and I'm just trying to figure out exactly what the title is, what to call it. Excuse me. But this morning, I was actually last night. I saw a video and she talked about and I actually didn't watch the most of it. I just saw the title, but talking about kind of like devices or the internet, kind of as God, now a small g, of course. And it kind of got to me. I saw an image of how we're just so connected to the internet more than ever with our, especially with our smartphones, our devices that are always in our pocket. And yeah, and that's honestly, if you haven't watched, I made a video actually it's 2 months ago, but I finally uploaded it probably about 5 or 6 days ago, saying the title is Goodbye Smartphone. And I've had a smartphone for 10 years, from 2010 to 2020, and it was time to get rid of it for many reasons. I want to make sure my audio's on. Yes, it's on. Okay. For many reasons. Personally, it was becoming, in my mind, a problem. And for me, I lived in Korea for 4 years in the last 6, 7 years of my life. So I lived in South Korea. I was a teacher there, and I've talked about this before. But there, the smartphone consumption is a lot, and now it's equal, I would say, in America. Everyone is on their smartphone all the time, and this isn't new. It's steadily ramped up over the years. I think 2013, and I've researched this topic a little bit. 2013, I think, is when like Facebook and Twitter and all these big groups started really throwing all their money into the mobile applications. Because even in 2012 and even 2013, Facebook and Instagram and all these applications on our phone, they weren't programmed the best. The interface wasn't the easiest. So it was still compelling to use your computer, your desktop, or your laptop. It was still a better platform. Anyway, substantially though, the money went there, and that's where our attention has went. It has been to our smartphones. I forgot the number, 300 or 400 times we check our phone a day. For me, it was just becoming too much. I could really retrospectively stand out of my body and stand out and look at me and say, do I want to be this anxious, nervous person that's constantly checking this phone, this device, when it rumbles, when it rings, when it beeps? It was too much for me. The information I was getting wasn't creating a better life for me. The text message, the email, the this, the that, it wasn't creating a good environment in my mind, I believe. And that's where the battle is. I'm trying to wrap all these. There's kind of 2, 3 themes I'm trying to bring together. I don't feel like I'm honestly that prepared, so I'm just kind of praying that God puts together. But the battle's for our mind, and this device for me, this smartphone, if you will. And honestly, it is actually, I would say, and this sounds funny, I think it's a dumb phone because it actually makes us stupider. It makes us more dumb. We don't have the memory we used to have. We used to remember, if you're 30 or yeah, around that age, we used to remember our friends' phone numbers. We used to remember the, details like that. And now we just, I don't remember it. We just click this, and I don't remember how to get to the gym I went to last week. I'll click the GPS to go button. These smartphones, they actually make us dumb. It's really, I read this book, So Good They Can't, sorry, that's a different book. So Good They Can't Ignore You. Nope, it wasn't that one. I read, and I showed it with you guys last week, shared it with you rather. It's called The Shallows. And what we're doing with these smartphones, we're offloading our memory to it, our biological memory that God has given us. We're offloading it. We're taking the burden off of us and putting it on this internal mechanical memory, silicon memory. And it's just, yeah, this is just one aspect, but I think it just really steals from us. It steals from our memory. It steals from our relationships. whenever we go to dinner, I'm sure a lot of people you see, they put their phone on the table, or when you're having a conversation with a friend, it's in between you. It makes us more nervous. There was a study in The Shallows, the book that I referred to earlier. It's by Nicholas Carr, I believe. It's all about the internet and what it's doing to our brains. When there's a smartphone on the table, the study said there was less authentic relationships. It was a study where people would meet in one room without phones, and people would meet in another room and they had smartphones on the table, and there was less authenticity, less real communication. And isn't that the funny thing? Isn't that the most ironic thing about these smartphones? We think and we all mouth out like, oh, of course I have better communication because I have a smartphone. I can email, I can do all these things conveniently. Actually, truly, we're actually having worse, more broken down, more misunderstood conversations than I would say than ever before. It's just astounding though that we buy the verbiage, we buy the marketing from these companies on these phones that we have to have. We have to have bigger screens, better cameras, and it's really actually it's stealing a lot more than I think, if you haven't noticed by now, I think than you expect. And again, no one signed up 10 years ago when I got my first smartphone, an Android in 2010. No one, and same with iPhone, Steve Jobs, I don't believe they were intended at the beginning, at the onset, to disrupt us. But they have. And Steve Jobs actually in 2007 said the app killer for this phone is it makes calls. So again, I don't believe that in the beginning they were created for evil, but once these social networks got on, and once all these dings and these vibrations and all of these things came into play with millions and millions of dollars invested, it changed this machine, which is now, this smartphone is designed. There are people in Silicon Valley now, in California, and all these businesses and all these companies. The model is now to get you on in their ecosystem as long as possible. And I think a year ago I read a stat. It was, I think the average time a user is on Facebook is 51 minutes a day. That doesn't sound so much, but 51 minutes, think about that. That's an hour. That's too much. And it's stealing from us. And back to what I was talking about in Silicon Valley, there's all these people working there now. They're game theorists, right? They're the ones that create, they're the ones that design the slot machines. And I could be wrong if it's I'm a little tired, to be honest right now. I don't think it's game theory, but slot machines, they design all these things, and they know exactly what triggers the user. And that's the same effect that's being put into these smartphones. And I'm not being negative right now. I'm just a little bit tired, honestly, right now. Don't read into it and say, Brandon, you're always negative. I'm not really negative. I'm just trying to inform. When I speak informative information, I tend to be a little bit more serious. So please, don't get me wrong. I'm just talking, giving us information. You get to decide what you do with it. And this is just from my own personal experience and from a few studies I've read. So with that being said, yeah, the smartphones, I think especially as Christians, we need to decide how we use them. The whole world uses them all the time. If you go to India, if you go to Korea, if you go to Europe, everyone's using them now. They're synonymous. Every country in the world is using them. It's not an isolated thing in America and then in Asia. No, it's everywhere. And it's just to think, just take your life back and say, where would I be if I didn't have this right now? I still had a computer. I still could check email. Would my relationship with God be better? Would my relationship with my wife, husband, would my relationship with my children, with my friends be better? Would it be more original, more true, more deep? Would I have less friends, but have deeper relationships with the few I had? Would I be more committed in my work? Is my concentration scattered now? Is it hard for me to read a book? Can I sit down for an hour and read a book? I used to be able to do that. Can I still do that? Or can I still sit down and type or write? All these, I truly believe, and I know I've read the studies, and I am the study. I've done it myself. The answer is it's decreased all of those. It's decreased concentration. It has decreased, and you could say it's the internet. You could say it's the computer. You could say it's this phone. But for me personally, I believe it's the phone, the smartphone, because It has become, if you will, a constant companion. It's always, I'm tapping on my pocket. It's always in your pocket. When you shut the computer, when you leave your house, it goes with you. When you're at the gym, it's with you. You're taking selfies. When you're in school, you can grab it and send a message. It's always with us. It's the first thing most of us, if you're honest with yourself, it's the first thing when you wake up, you check your smartphone. Hey, what's happening in the world? Hey, who texted me? What's going on? And when you leave, or when you lie down rather and go to bed, it's the last thing you check. And this brings me to the next point. I was at my Bible college, the Bible college I went to a year and a half ago. I think, yeah, it was last July. And this guy from another Bible college came and spoke, and he was talking about, the Spirit of God, the Spirit. And then he was talking about, he held up, and mind you, this is not a smartphone. It's actually, I'm just using it for demonstration. It's actually a non-connected internet device. Anyway, he held up his phone and said, or is this, is the Spirit of truth, the Spirit of God? Is that what leads you? And is that the first thing you tune into when you wake up, or is it this device right here? And it was really touching. It really got to me because it's so applicable to everyone. Again, not every person, but every Christian. We have bought into it. And I think, again, we can say, but it helps me with this, it helps me with this. Great. It absolutely does. There are many things in this life that a certain tool will help me with this, but we don't like to point out the things that it actually takes away from us. We always like to talk about the good things. It helps me get to places I don't know. It helps me, find reviews for restaurants and call the number. Again, great. But what is it taking away from us? And really, after he spoke about that, I really was like, man, I felt, and I already knew this. I felt that I was giving something up. I was always being mesmerized by this screen. What was I missing? Was I missing those real conversations that I was longing to have, that the internet and Facebook and all these social media things promised to give me? They weren't. Was I missing skills I could be gaining? Maybe building up a new language I wanted to study? Was I missing out on spending time with the Lord in the morning instead of looking for a while, looking and then going to work, going to school? What was I missing out on? And so the mind, what are we putting our mind on? Was I putting it on the worldly things, news? And now, don't get me wrong, I think it's okay to be informed about the news of the day so you know at least what's happening in the world. But at what amount and how frequent? And that's the thing. This computer I'm in front of right now, I'm on YouTube broadcasting, right? It's a computer. It's a laptop. For me, it's mostly a desktop. I don't really bring this a lot of places, but it's in a physical location. I don't bring this to the kitchen. I don't bring this over here. It pretty much stays in my room. And so for that reason, it's kind of an isolated thing. When I work, I am trying more and more, I'm not perfect, to come here and sit down with a purpose for this computer, to either write or make a video or edit or something. But the constant companion, your smartphone, it's everywhere you go. It's everywhere you are. And look, you're not strong enough. And I'm not saying this in a negative way. You're not strong enough to resist the compulsion that the manufacturers, the designers of these algorithms, of these things that have send out the tweets and send out the likes and rumble in your pocket. You are not smart enough to withdraw from that. If it's in your pocket vibrating, I turn the notifications off. It doesn't matter. You're still going to keep grabbing for it because your brain, the dopamine, it wants that hit. It wants that hit like nicotine. It's right there. But my argument for the computer is the desktop or laptop, for the most part, the applications are a little bit brought down. It doesn't vibrate. Now, there are some notifications on your computer, but also it's limited. You leave it someplace. You don't bring your laptop in your pocket. You're not bringing it everywhere. You're not opening your laptop on the subway or on a bus, usually. That's my argument. So the smartphone, it's taken everywhere, and it's really, I believe it's just causing a lot of problems. I believe especially today with COVID, people are saying, oh, it's so convenient and great to have school online. No, it's not. It's not working. This virtual reality life that is so easy and convenient, I don't have to leave my bedroom, is not what God intended us to have. If it was, then then somehow they would have figured out computers and said, disciples, stay in your room, open your laptops and go disciple people online. I'm not saying that things can't be done. Look, I'm online right now. I still believe in using it to a certain extent, but we've got to have the human factor. We've got to be able to look in people's eyes, look at people's face when we speak with them and not be distracted, not open our phone, not check our phone in the morning, turn it on, spend time with the Lord in the morning. He gave you this day after all again. It's so easy. Don't get me wrong. Again, I'm not preaching to you. I'm preaching to everyone. I'm preaching to myself too, because I'm still not perfect. Now that I don't have a smartphone, though, I'll tell you this, my draw on this computer is greater now. When I am home, I want to be on it more because it's that allure to just be connected. And so it's a battle of our mind. It's a battle of our mind. It really is, all the stuff, all the news, all this device, what it promises us to give us everything. I can do everything. I can rent a car on here. I can book an airline. I can do everything. And it's really the God of convenience. It's the God of convenience, small g. So I just wanted to share that. I have more to talk about, it's just so apparent. Last year I was in Colorado Springs and there was this bike rental. It's a shared bike rental thing where you put the bike in and you scan with your phone and you can unlock it and you can take the bike around the city and drop it off at a different location. They're in almost every city now. And again, I was already thinking about all this stuff last year. I was thinking about this way for the last 4 years, I'd say, about smartphones, technology, and overusing it. And it's really deterring our life. Anyway, I looked at this bicycle and I just wanted to look at it. I observed it. And the only way I could rent, I had to have the app. There was no way I could put quarters in or dollars. It was only take a picture of this, download the app, and this is how you rent a bike. And it was another another side topic is I'm seeing, and I'm sure you've seen too, there's only certain things you can do now through an app. You can't even payments at places now. I know I've never seen only apps like Apple Pay, but I've seen only credit cards now. Like on the airlines, you can only use credit cards to pay for food or drinks. Anyway, what I observed when seeing this is that it's really bringing us from a wide ability. It's really bringing us narrow. We have to use an app. We have to have the smartphone. If you have a dumb phone, you can't rent this bike. And same with, Uber and stuff. And you can't rent a car without Uber. I mean, you can still hail a taxi, but even taxis now have apps. Really, we see all this stuff as, it's so convenient and it gives me so many options. But if you actually start to look at it, it's actually narrowing things down and giving us less options. Again, it's just these things. And again, I am a very analytical and observant person. And so seeing this in the name of it can do everything. It's stealing our time. I believe, think more and more as time goes on, it is narrowing our options. I like to pay for things in cash. I have a debit card, yeah, but I like the ability to pay in cash, and I don't want to use an app in the future. Yeah, and of course, if you want to get to it, this is going off into deep territory, into far galaxy. But bear with me. But if you want to get to, a very controlled society, a very structured society, that everything can be tracked and everything can be monitored. I mean, yeah, you talk about a chip inside of you, the mark of the beast. But the smartphone it's quasi mark of the beast, right? It's already kind of got everything geared to it. It's your wallet. It's your way to even check in now. When you come in from out of the country, you can use your smartphone. It's your passport, right? It's a lot of things now that, again, it's very convenient. It's very, wow, that's so nice. I only have to bring my smartphone now to pay and to do everything. Again, it is nice. It's convenient. There's great benefits, but what are we missing out on? What is being taken away? So I don't have much more. I just know that this is really, a convenience or an info war on our mind. We need to really spend time with the Lord more. Just away from phones, away from computers. It's becoming increasingly hard, right? Today, I'm studying for insurance right now. I was a insurance agent a few years ago, and I came back from Korea, and I'm going to get back into that because I think it's a good thing for me right now in this time. But all the stuff I'm studying right now is online. And so it's just this society where everything, all the stuff I have to study is on the computer. And if you don't have discipline to just focus on that, you're going to start clicking and you're going to start missing out. And, I think we all should want to get back to where we use our brains. God has given us a brain, and it's to be used good. It's to be used well, to remember things, to recall, to learn, to know and meditate on a scripture, to learn maybe new languages because you're called to be a minister in a different country. Today that we say, I can't learn a new language, I'll just use Google Translate. I can't memorize the Bible, I'll just look it up on my smartphone. We should really cherish the ability God has given us to recall, retain information. And if I'm 70 though, I'm too old now. No, you're not. No, you're not. God has given us amazing biological brain retainer information compared to this thing right here. It has no DNA. It's cold. It breaks down. It's outdated. God has created us though. And I know we live in a fallen world and we will leave this earth, but I think we should start to really choose next time. I called you is next time, if you're going to a place, maybe look it up on the computer before, try to go drive there without looking at a GPS all the time. Call your friend and say, hey, tomorrow we're going to meet for lunch at a certain time at a set place. That's what you used to do. We don't have to text say, hey, I'm 10 minutes late. Hey, I'll be there. Hey, where are you sitting at? Just go set something up. I did that with my girlfriend when I flew to Phoenix a week ago. We set a pre-established time where we're going to meet. And if I wasn't there at this time, we were going to meet somewhere else. And it worked out perfectly, charmingly. It works. It still works. It'll also teach us to be, I think, more useful in our time. Now we can be late because we have our phone. We can text and say, hey, I'll be 5 minutes late. I'll be 10 minutes late. But when you don't have your smartphone, or when you elect to say, no, I'm going to meet there at 1 o'clock, you have to be there then. I think this brings, again, another thing, this brings convenience, but I really think it does bring us down too as people. We're not as committed as we used to be because we don't have to be. And everyone's using one now. So everyone's doing it. I can do it too. I guess this is just kind of an all-encompassing about smartphones and technology, and how I really think it's hurting us greatly. Our communication skills are far less. Our vocabulary, even myself, the more I read now, the more words I'm learning, the more I'm speaking, I think, at a higher level. But our vocabulary is broken down. It's less. It's more. What's the word I'm trying to look for? Ironically, what's the word I'm looking for? It's more broken in small bits. Emojis, I'm not going to get started on that, but emojis, I believe, are really deteriorating our language too. Smiley face, what does that mean? We're kind of going back to the Egyptian language of hieroglyphics, pictures, and we used to go up in probably in the 15th, 16th century, and now we're again going back down. It's like, are we really going to deteriorate to symbols again? And I just think there's more in us that God has for us. Are we giving ourselves away in this convenient technology? Are we really having better time? Are we feeling more relaxed with that smartphone? Because in another study in the Shallows, it talks about when a smartphone's in your pocket or when it's in sight, your blood pressure goes up. That it's just something's there always waiting for it to beep, to ding. Something, oh gosh, I wonder if it's good news or bad news. Are we feeling more peace? Are we feeling more connected? I don't think we are. I think we need to really consider. We need to really maybe start to think about these technologies. Are we really going to follow the rest of the world? They're all doing it. Aren't we supposed to be set apart? And again, this is far-fetched for some people. Am I saying go throw your phone away right now? No, I'm not saying that. Your smartphone. If you think you can keep it, if you can have some dedicated rules, some discipline, then I think it's possible. For me, I tried it for several years. I tried it. For me, it's impossible. It's impossible for me to have it because I am constantly getting into something, checking this, and then I look later, 30 minutes is gone. So it's possible. You have to be very, very dedicated. Every week, I think you have to make a plan of how to do it. And so that's why, honestly, there are some dumb phones coming back. There's a phone called Punkt, P-U-N-K-T. It's out of Switzerland. It's a dumb phone, and it's stylish and cool. There's a new one called Mudita, M-U-D-I-T-A, Pure, P-U-R-E. That one's out of Poland, and that one's gonna start coming. I think it's gonna launch in the next few months. These were all on these were all backed online, and people realize this is not just me. People on this earth realize that there's just so much more tension in us. And so this is another dumb phone that it has text, and both of these phones, by the way, they have the ability to have wireless tethering. So you can use the internet on your computer and actually do work, right? Instead of just using your $1,000 smartphone that's 10 inches big just to text and look at social media. You can actually use this dumb phone now when you need the internet to actually wirelessly tether to your computer to do actual work. For that, I'm like, that's perfect. Let's get back to that 2004 technology. I always think about that 2004 where we have an iPod, we can listen to music, great. We don't have to have thousands of CDs. We had computers and wireless internet. I think 2004, 2005 was perfect. I think that was a perfect technological year. Okay, another thing I'll just quickly end. Online church, all these things, they're great, they're convenient, but we got to get back to having real relationships with people. I could go on more and more. I've really, this is a topic I have probably not missed a day in the last 4 or 5 years where I've just meditated. I've observed people. I've observed myself. And every time we keep going on, I'm like, is this for real? Did that person just talk to me that way? We don't have any skills anymore. And it's just really hard for me to grasp how much more we're going to stand out in the world, how much more people are going to realize, wow, this person can communicate. This person actually has compassion and empathy towards me. They're actually looking me in the eyes. This person actually, I believe, wants this human relationship. And God wants a relationship with us too. And he doesn't just want us to be on the iPad Bible app. Because I don't believe really the iPad Bible app or the Bible app on your computer works either, because there's notifications popping up. I remember I'll close with this. I was in a church in Minnesota right after college or during college, and he said, and this is even 2011, and he said, guys, you have your iPads, great. You got to get one of these though. And this was a young pastor in his 30s. He said, you've got to get one of these. This is how you read the word. It's paper. There's no notifications. There's no swiping. There's no distraction. So let's put ourselves back in this, alone, apart. Let's not have this right next to it though. If you have this next to it, it cancels it out. Let's intentionally spend time. Let's bring back our communication skills. Let's bring back our time with God in the morning. Let's have the Spirit of truth lead us, not the Google God, not our smartphone that leads us. I have a question. I have an answer. Let's ask God. Let's ask the Holy Spirit. Let's not ask our smartphone. God bless you guys. I hope this is an encouraging message. I just hope, really, this is kind of why I wanted actually in the beginning to start this channel, was to talk about technology and Christians. I really think that there are a lot of things that if we could change, we could be a little bit more shrewd in this world, a little bit smarter, and not caught in the trap, the snare of the enemy. So God bless you guys. I hope you're doing great, and we'll talk to you soon. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.